On October 14, 2020, a person named Bijoe Emmanuel died due to age-related ailments in the city of Kottayam in the Indian state of Kerala. Emmanuel had worked most of his life as an English professor at a local college. For most of us, the name Bijoe Emmanuel might not sound anything remarkable. A few among us may recall that he and his family were practitioners of the Christian sect Jehovah's Witnesses. Only a handful will recall him as the petitioner who won a landmark judgment from the Supreme Court, which defended his right to free speech and expression and the right to practice and propagate one's religion. This is the story of one of the landmark cases in the political history of India. Bijoe Emmanuel and his family were practitioners of the Jehovah's Witnesses, which is a Christianity-based evangelical sect. Jehovah's Witnesses bases its beliefs solely on the text of the Bible. They do not observe holidays such as Christmas, Easter, and birthdays, and believe that traditional churches have deviated from the text of the Bible. The sect is not considered a part of mainstream Christianity because it also rejects the doctrine of Holy Trinity. The doctrine of Holy Trinity in Christianity is the belief that there is one God who is the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. They do not salute the national flag or sing the national anthem, and they refuse military service. They also refuse blood transfusions, even those that could be life-saving. Jehovah's Witnesses have an active presence in most countries, including India, and one of these practitioners was Emmanuel's family. Emmanuel's three children, Bijoe, Binu, and Bindu, were studying in a local school in Kottayam. On July 8, 1985, the headmistress of the school ordered that the national anthem Jana Gana Mana be sung in the classrooms. All in attendance were required to stand and sing. But Bijoe and his younger sisters Binu and Bindu refused to sing the national anthem because according to them it was against the tenets of their religious faith, not the words or the thoughts of the national anthem but the singing of it. As Jehovah's Witnesses, their conscience would not permit them to sing because they sincerely believed that doing so would constitute a form of idolatry and an act of unfaithfulness to their God Jehovah. They desisted from actual singing only, but they used to stand up in respectful silence daily during the morning assembly when the national anthem was sung. There was huge uproar in the school when some people thought that by not singing the national anthem, the children were actually insulting it. The matter was highlighted in the local media. Kerala education authorities took the matter seriously, especially because there was a circular issued by the Department of Public Education where instructions were issued regarding the morning assembly and the singing of the national anthem. A Congress legislator raised the issue in the State Assembly. The then Education Minister T.M. Jacob of the UDF government, led by K. Karunakaran, ordered a probe by a single-member commission. While the panel held that the children had not shown any disrespect to the anthem and pointed out that the school had no complaint against them, the district educational officer insisted that if they wanted to continue in the school, the students would have to give in writing that they would sing the national anthem. But Emmanuel was not ready to give that consent. Hence, next day his children did not attend their classes. The government was adamant in its decision and the school authorities were helpless. On 25th July 1985, the three children were suspended from the school along with other 9 children from the Jehovah's Witnesses sect. So on behalf of Bijoe, Binu and Bindu, Emmanuel and wife Lilikuti moved the High Court where a single bench rejected the plea. The High Court dismissed the petition on the ground that no word or thought in the national anthem could offend any religious beliefs. Their reappeal also failed. It was then that Emmanuel appealed to the Supreme Court of India. On 11th August 1986, the Supreme Court overruled the High Court of Kerala in the case of Bijoe Emmanuel vs. State of Kerala. By the time the judgment arrived, the 3 children had already lost 1 academic year. The court held that by expelling the children based on their conscientiously held religious faith violated the Constitution of India. Justice O. Chinnappa Reddy, who was the presiding judge in the case, stated, "No provision of the law in the country obliges anyone to sing the national anthem." The court found their expulsion from the school in violation of both Articles 19 and 25 of the Constitution, holding that a reasonable limitation on the right to freedom of expression must be based on a law having statutory force and not a mere executive or departmental instruction. The court noted that the right of free speech and expression under Article 19 also includes the right to remain silent and that standing for the national anthem showed proper respect. The court ordered the school authorities to readmit the children. In 1986, armed with the Supreme Court order, Emmanuel got his and other children from Jehovah's Witnesses readmitted in the same school. After sitting in the classes for a day, the children from Jehovah's Witnesses, including Bijoe, Binu and Bindu, left the school. Emmanuel decided not to have formal education for his other 4 children either. None of his 8 grandchildren who study in various schools sing the national anthem. Jehovah's Witnesses were again in news in November 2016 when the Supreme Court had decided that national anthem would be mandatorily played in cinema halls and that those in attendance would have to stand up and show respect. However, the judgment was later revised to make the playing of the anthem optional. Jehovah's Witnesses was also in news in 2017 during the Goa elections, during which some members of the group had declared that they wished to remain politically neutral and therefore would not be voting for any group. The Supreme Court gave Emmanuel and his family and others like him the protection guaranteed under the Indian Constitution. Bijoe Emmanuel case has been referred by many in the legal world as a benchmark case which set a clear line between the duties and rights of a citizen.